Welcome to the DesignDash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. Join us as we explore the keys to living the life you want without compromise.
Welcome to the DesignDash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. First, we want to thank Monogram Appliances for sponsoring this podcast. Monogram is a lifetime partner for us in our businesses, for us at DesignDash, as well as our design firm, Laura U Design Collective. We love Monogram because they believe in three main pillars that we as creatives can easily get behind: materials, performance, and ownership. Each of these uphold their commitment to high quality, innovation, and ongoing relationships with designers and homeowners.
Okay, so what is this podcast about? Because I'm sure everybody's thinking that they just need another podcast, right? So here at DesignDash, we really believe in designing a life you love. That's so important to both Laura and I, and how people do that in different ways. So in this podcast, Laura and I are going to be speaking together. Oftentimes it'll just be the two of us, and oftentimes with a guest, somebody who has built a life that they really love. And then we'll talk to them about how they did that, because I'm sure it's not easy. And also there's just no one size fits all way to live a life that's worth living. So today it's just going to be Laura and myself. And so I think we should just get started by saying who we are. Why don't you go ahead, Laura?
Okay, perfect. So I'm Laura Umansky. I am the CEO and founder of the Laura U Design Collective, which is a design firm based in Houston, Texas, and Aspen, Colorado. I've had the firm for over 16 years, and we specialize in luxury residential interior design all over the country. Melissa and I launched DesignDash, which we will delve into the how, the why, the pivots, the pain, the success of all of that. But our day job is Laura U Design Collective. And it's our ins and outs in that day job that led us to launch DesignDash. Melissa, tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm Melissa Grove. I am the COO, Chief Operating Officer at Laura U Design Collective. And then I'm Laura's co-founder here at DesignDash. And Laura and I have been working together now, I guess it's nearly 6 years now. We met on LinkedIn, if we're going to talk about how we met.
I don't remember that. The fact that you recall that is impressive.
I do, because I was actually not living my best life at all and working for a very toxic boss, and was so in need of finding a life that I loved because I hated the life that I was living. And you brought me in to interview, and I think that you offered me the job the next day. And of course I jumped at it, and I've been here ever since. So, and I've absolutely loved it. I'll admit, a job hopper before I joined Laura U Design Collective, and I've been here and have never wanted to leave. I think that everything that we do is absolutely beautiful, which is easy to say, I think, when you work in a design firm. But I think that what has really propelled us to success, and I think we'll talk about this a lot more when we're talking about DesignDash, is how open-minded you've been, how open-minded we've both been, and pivoting and making changes and adapting. And I think that's so important to designing a life you love, and then also to DesignDash, which we're going to talk about right now.
Yeah, and so DesignDash really is built on these things that we've learned, and I'm not going to say failures. You either learn or you win, right? So these things that we've learned through working together at Laura U Design Collective. And when Melissa came on to work with me 6 years ago, I was in a very different spot with my business. We've really built it together to be something sustainable, something that really has let us also live a fulfilling personal life, not just a fulfilling work life. And that's the goal. It really is to revolutionize the way creative entrepreneurs approach true fulfillment personally and professionally, because it doesn't have to be one or the other. We're all about that work-life rhythm, finding not necessarily a 50-50 balance. It doesn't exist. You can want to have it all, and I think you can have it all, but something's got to give at some point. And I think that's what we talk about most when it comes to DesignDash. So Melissa, like that idea of work-life rhythm, it means something different to both of us. So like each of us have our own rhythm. Maybe the definition of work-life rhythm is the same, but we each have a different rhythm. So tell me about yours.
So I think that mine may be a little bit more structured. I'm a little bit more about the balance a lot, because what I can do is often just obsess and drift on into workaholism. And so I have to put some boundaries in place for me to also enjoy my personal life. But I think that what's been really good about working with Laura U Design Collective is that during the pandemic, I should say, we really realized that, hey, this 9 to 5, this really rigid structure, button seat, if you will, just wasn't working, obviously, during the pandemic. And it really wasn't something that we enjoyed. Um, so I think if there was one silver lining that we got out of that, it was realizing that we can have some flexibility in the way that we work. And it's led to being able to work while we're traveling, to travel a lot more, to working out in the middle of the day, and I know that these are all lifestyle things, but I think that oftentimes when we're talking about work, we we ignore how important the lifestyle part is in working, which is why we've come to this work-life rhythm. And I think maybe, Laura, we should also talk about where we started, because we didn't start DesignDash talking about work-life rhythm at all. We really just exclusively talked about work.
Yeah, and I think that's what was when we were starting to talk about this. It was in the pandemic. Our team at LUD, at Laura U Design Collective, LUDC, had gone hybrid, and our business was growing like crazy. I don't think we saw it coming when we were all freaking out in 2020 when things started shutting down. But the interior design industry went crazy. We were so busy. Residential interior design went absolutely bonkers. And we were taking on, where we normally would take on 12 to 14 projects a year, we were taking on 30 to 35 projects in 21 and 22. And so we saw this big boom in growth in our business. And that's what we thought we wanted to talk about to other creative entrepreneurs, how to grow your business. And we were doing educational programming around that. Melissa, if you want to talk a little bit about that, but the two of us together were really focused on hiring and marketing and very much that business aspect of life.
Yeah, we offered workshops, we had coursework, and it was all just growth and achievement. And I think that we started to quickly realize, after we were speaking to our DesignDash community, well, hey, this is wonderful and I am finding success in my business, but what about the vacation that I've been trying to take for 8 years? What about my kids play that I wanted to see last week, but I had to step out a little bit to take a client call. So I realized that, okay, we can really help out on the growth side and the success side, but we're all such complicated individuals and we all have such rich personal lives. We were not addressing that at all in that first iteration of DesignDash. And so that's why recently in the fall, we decided to make that change, and why we keep repeating it, designing a life that you love, because it's not just about designing a business. It's about designing this life. And so you need to have both aspects of it working together. And so now we're addressing both of those.
And going back to when I launched Laura U Design Collective in 2006, and back then it was Laura U Interior Design, and it was just me. And the reason I started my firm is so I could have flexibility in my life. I never wanted to, like you said earlier, be a butt in a seat and a clock watcher and hoping that the clock was ticking to 5 o'clock as soon as possible. That's just not my goal for my life. And so that intentionality from day one of choosing a career that I thought would give me a business basis and my creative outlet, that was intentional from day one. And so I think going into launching Laura U Design Collective and growing it over the years, I kept that in my mind. But when we got into the pandemic and we were so busy that I couldn't step out to take a call for my kids' school, or I couldn't take a vacation without working. That is when it really hit home that my personal life, that personal fulfillment, is such a huge part of why I started Laura U Design Collective. And so we reeled it in and we really started thinking about, what does it mean to have it all? What are you sacrificing? And then how do you design a life where there's not as much sacrifice, or you're intentional about what you're sacrificing and what you're letting into your life?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of compromise too, because we're both working mothers. And so there's often that I struggle with mom guilt a lot, especially now that I have a
Same.
2-year-old too. I feel like, oh, he needs me so much, but I need myself and I need to be there for myself too. And so, yeah, I just always feel like there's this push and pull, that, and we just need to change the way that we think about that, because it's all going to exist together in some way. But I want to do it without feeling like I'm sacrificing myself, like you said, like without I'm compromising what I really want. And I know that there are other people in the Design Dash community who feel the same way. And that's why we are where we are now with Design Dash and talking so much more about our personal lives.
So with determining and being intentional and thoughtful about what you're sacrificing and what you're not, I bought myself this little necklace this year for myself and for my girlfriends, like my close girlfriends. And so it is my necklace. It is a spinner and it helps me make decisions. It's a hell yes. And close your ears if you're easily offended, but it is a F no. For any decision I make, I'm like, I can spin it and I'm like, oh, this is a hell yes. So with that in mind, Melissa, I'm going to ask you, what's one thing you want to let go of from last year? Since we're at the top of the year, we're just kicking off 2024. What are you saying F no to from 2023?
I think just more stuff. I always say that no is a complete sentence, but then something comes up and I just say yes and yes and yes to it until I drive myself into the ground. And I don't care if it's something at work or if my parents want to come over for Sunday dinner. I'm very much yeah, of course I can do that. Of course, put that onto my plate. So I really think that I'm going to say no to more people and say yes a lot more to myself. I just booked myself a massage for this Friday. And I'm going to that massage. It's 2 hours too. So, and I'm turning my phone off. Nobody's going to need me or get to me during that time.
Get it. So
what about you?
What are you letting go? You want to pull that through from 2024? I'm all about the self-care also this year. I made a ton of changes with my health in 2023, from cutting out alcohol to starting to exercise almost too much, maybe. I have to.
Well, and we should take a moment to celebrate that alcohol thing, because I think that you have now 10 months sober. That's really great.
Yeah, 9 months. And I'm not saying I'm never going to have a glass of wine again, but right now it doesn't work for me. And I just have accepted that, and it's worked really, really well. So that's one thing that I'm pulling from 23 into 24, continue the health journey. And I think I intended to do a lot more of the saying no, just like you said. 2023, we did a lot of yes. And I still feel like for me in business, it was not a successful year. I was overdoing it or I was doing the wrong things. So I think going back and auditing what worked and what didn't is what I'm going to pull forward to 24. Because my saying no is already out the window. Like I'm booked through the fall already, which is kind of depressing.
Insane.
Honestly. So maybe I'm going to go cancel some things. I'm going to go cancel some things, Melissa. That's what that's
something I want to do more of in 2024 is canceling things.
Yeah. Yeah. But for the things that we are doing with Design Dash, like I'm really excited about all of the topics we're covering on our website. It looks really, really good. We have our team, our editor-in-chief, Elizabeth Burton. She has been crushing it with our team of writers. And so we have a really diverse topic list here. We talk about art, we talk about wellness, we talk about business. It's really all focused on women, creatives, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. If you're a consultant or you're working on contract, if you're within a company that you're really contributing to, this is all for you. It's for anyone who is interested in designing with intention a life you love.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that you'll see that there's a lot of different topics there on the website. And you may be thinking, okay, well, what does this really have to do with what I'm doing right now? And I think that sometimes, at least for me, when I'm getting to a point where I'm feeling that I'm detached from myself a little bit, the way to get back to myself is to find something creative. Like even just doodling helps me get back to, I think, that 8-year-old girl who had big dreams and felt wonder. And I think that sometimes when you're in a grind and you're burnt out, wonder is one of the first things that goes out of the window. And so we really wanted to connect everybody back to that creativity and that curiosity and finding awe in the world. And DesignDash is the place to do it online, because you can't always go to Paris even when you want to. So we are able to satisfy that wanderlust digitally.
And speaking of Paris, we are heading there next week. So we'll be sure to share our trip with you. Right. And we are going for business. It is for business. But this is another big thing that we talk about in DesignDash. It's combining your professional life with your wanderlust or your curiosity, and really enhancing your work life through those other outlets. So finding something creative that you can inject all the time. I think my big thing is, don't wait for someone else to discover you. Don't wait for someone else to do it for you. They're not going to show up. And even if they did, it's about them and not you. So you have the power to say hell yes. You have the power to say F no to everything in your life. And it's those decisions, those cumulative decisions, that are going to design this life that you love. And it's the habits you build, the opportunities you take. If you get intentional and take control, then you're one of us. You are a Design Dasher, and welcome to our community. We really want you there. We want you in the conversation.
So let's touch on, before we go, what's coming up. So I think we have a guest that's coming up that we're really excited about. Her name is Jackie Fisher. She's definitely going to tell us how she designed a life that she loved. And maybe I don't want to give too much away, but we'll do a little preview on her so everybody can check her out and get really excited about Jackie, because she's fabulous. She lives a fabulous life, and she can probably help us live even better ones.
And what's great about Jackie too is she's not going to mince words. She will tell it like it is. So you will really enjoy her. So that's coming up, and then a few others to follow that one. So this is just the start. Melissa and I are so excited about this. We're really looking forward to the conversations we have and the community that we're building. And we're so happy you're here. So join us at, if you haven't been there yet, DesignDash.com, or on socials, it's at DesignDasher, ER on the end, super easy. And you're going to find community, confidence, inspiration, and most importantly, action every day.
And you'll find us, and we can't wait to talk to you. So there's that. Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our next podcast, coming live next week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find us and more wonderful stories like these on DesignDash.com. And make sure to follow us at Design Dasher on Instagram and TikTok. Till next time.